Hi, it's Grandma from Grandma's Footsteps, and today I'm going to be making the seal from the Makers PDF. That's Makers, Maker's. Right, here he is. He's absolutely gorgeous, isn't he? And those eyes. Well, anyway, ready to get started? I think we are. So I've got my mat and my needle and my wool. I start off with a large piece of core wool, which I roll up as tightly as I can to make the main body. Just check on the length. And just start felting in. I have no affiliation with the Makers, and I'm not receiving anything for doing this video. I just love their stuff, really love their stuff. It's www.makers.co.uk, and that's makers with a double S. Just shaping the main body and making sure that my core wool is all sat down like it should do. You need one end a bit rounded, which is the head end, and the other end you leave just a little bit soft and fluffy, because that's going to make the tail. Now the PDF doesn't actually use core wool, but I prefer to use core wool for my makes and cover it with a top coat. I like the way it finishes if you do this, and also I like not having to use so much of my really beautiful and more expensive top coats. So by preference I will always use a core wool to make the body, the main part, and cover it with a top coat. For some of the small bits that you add, sometimes I will use the top coat, but mostly it's just core wool I use to start with. Give it a little roll, helps to round the shape. Keep in mind what shape you want to end up with while you're stabbing. Stabbing more in one place will, of course, will compound it down a little, and you can change the shape quite well doing that. Now, as you can see, I've split the thin end into two tail fins there, and we're just needle felting those in to make them a bit firmer and a bit tidier. I do later actually add a bit more wool to them because I think they're too thin. So, as I said, this is based on the Makers PDF, but I always go my own way and just do things I feel are right at the time. Obviously, whatever you needle felt, whether you're using a kit or a PDF or whatever, or following a video, it is your needle felt, and you can do whatever you feel is best for it. You notice here I am actually using the Makers earth mat, which I can recommend. It is awesome. I bought it a little while ago and I haven't looked back, and I have tried quite a lot of different needle felting mats, but I really do love this one. Now here I am adding some bit more wool to the tail end here, just to make it a little bit thicker. And I'm also removing a little vegetable matter from the core wool. it's not a problem. You could leave it in, but because I'm doing a very fine white cover, top coat, I've decided that any bits of vegetable matter I come across, or VM I come across, I shall remove whenever possible, because it could show through. I spend quite a lot of time on the shaping and firming of my models, so I will be speeding up in a little while, just so that you don't have to spend a lot of time watching me work on this. So, shaping and firming, and shaping and firming. I'm not sure how long I actually spent doing this. I think it might be 40 minutes to an hour altogether. I'm using a fairly fine needle doing this. I tend to use a fine needle for most of my felts, really all the way through. I know it takes longer, but it just feels right to me. You can see the shape actually beginning to appear now. It's that sort of beautiful cone. Well, it's not a cone shape really. I don't know what you call it. It's a sort of a ovoid with tails. Yeah, it's coming along, and it's getting nicely firm. You don't have to make the seal too firm. I prefer to make mine perhaps a little firmer than some of the makers makes, but that's just my personal preference. You can make your own decisions. I use PDFs from quite a few different people, makers, and Felts by Philippa and The Wishing Shed. They all make really awesome PDFs, so have a look at their Etsy shops and treat yourself to a PDF. I mean, I don't always use PDFs for my makes, but I find that sometimes I get that little bit of inspiration from them, and as I don't follow them word for word, so I just like to put my own spin on things. But they do offer a lot of inspiration and also a lot of very, very good advice. And the PDFs by The Wishing Shed and Felts by Philippa are backed up by YouTube videos. And you see there I was actually pulling on the wool. You can pull and shape with your fingers. You can squash. There we go. I'm squashing the front down to sort of push it in a little bit. If you squash it and then needle felt it, it holds in place, and you can get a slightly different shape just by doing that, using your hands, using your fingers to shape it as well as the needles. Now here I'm using a multi-tool, a Clover pen tool. Really love it, but I don't use it that much. I use it a lot more on my 2D feltings than I do on my three-dimensional makes. I've just speeded it up now so that you can see it coming along a bit quicker. I don't actually felt this fast. I am quite a fast felter, but I don't felt this fast normally. But, you can see the shape really beginning to come in now, and it's quite a bit firmer. You'll need the face end, the head end, a little bit firmer, because you're going to shortly be adding a head to it, and you want it to hold nicely. So a little bit of firmness around the front end is a good thing. And there we are. I'm a lot happier with the shape now. And shortly we'll be making the head. I think you'll find from my videos that I'm adjusting and stabbing and just doing the shape all the time. I have got a new camera set up, and I would really appreciate your opinion actually. Let me know in the comments below if you think it's better. I know that I don't go off shot quite so much because of the way it's set up, and I do think it's a clearer picture. There's not so much problems with the focusing. So please just let me know down below in the comments if you think that the quality of the video has improved with my new setup. I know I might look a little strange there. I'm sitting actually with a sleeping bag across my legs because our house is exceedingly cold at the moment, and so my knees get really cold, so I just have a sleeping bag across my lap, and it helps to keep me warm. It's not a problem I ever suffered with really until I got older. I was never cold, but these days I just seem to be always cold. And there I am, I'm just making the head. Possibly I might be taking a hot drink. Yes, I do believe I was taking a hot drink of coffee there. Hot drinks do help to keep you a little bit warmer. And here you can see that I'm holding on to the sort of more the fluffy end and actually needle felting it downwards. I'm trying to make it more of a ball than a sausage, really. And please excuse me, I do have a little bit of a sniffle, a little bit of a cold, so it's, my voice is a little bit different, and I've got a bit of a sniffle and runny nose, so apologies. Just shaping the head, Um, the seal has a head shape very similar to a dog. Actually, you've got it from the forehead coming down and into a snout. The snout is wider than a dog's. Dogs' snouts tend to get quite a bit thinner as they go to the front, but the seal doesn't so much. So, as you can see, I'm shaping it now, and you can start to see the head um, dog shape coming out as I'm needle felting round there. And I decided that the forehead wasn't quite high enough, the top of the head, so I'm just adding a little bit of wool to the top of it. Of course, you can add little bits of wool anywhere if you want to slightly change the shape, or whatever you want. Just to get your shape there, you can add some wool. If you want it to go in a bit more, then needle felt it more. If you want it to go out a bit more, add some more wool. That's the very basic to needle felting. You can see the shape really starting to appear now, especially since I added that bit of extra forehead. So, yeah. I was quite happy with the head by the time I'd finished felting it. And now I'm spreading out the fluffy end, the end that I'm going to attach it with, so that it's got a longer piece to attach. Just sit the head on top, and I'm now using a bigger needle. I think this one's probably a 38 that I'm using here. I normally use a 40. They're triangular needles. I'm going to experiment with some twisted or spiral needles very shortly, but at the moment I use the basic triangular shaped needles. And we're stabbing from the top and the bottom and the sides to make sure that that head is well attached. You don't want heads just flopping about. And once I've done that, I will put some extra layers of wool over the join so that it doesn't look like it's just been stuck on and actually forms part of the body. You'll see here on that one side I've got a little bit of a hole. It's just where it was needle felted, picking out a little bit more vegetable matter there. But I'm just putting some wool into the hole just to fill it up so that I haven't got this big dent when I come to putting the top layers on. And here we go. Now I'm just filling in with some fine bits of wool around the head and neck, just so that it's smoothing that join out and making it look as if it's all one animal, rather than just a head stuck on the end of something. So there we go. And I'm always refining the shape and the firmness of it all the time. You'll see that even though I was working on the head, I've gone down and done a bit more needle felting as I get in further places. Now, I have to apologise here. I forgot to turn the camera on while I was making the front fins there. Basically it's just a small piece of felt which I folded in half and then rolled up with the folded end towards the end of the fin there to make a nice smooth edge, and just flattened it a little bit and attached it underneath. That's it. I do apologise for getting to turn the camera on. I think it must be my age, forgetting to do this, but hopefully it hasn't spoiled your enjoyment too much. And if you were to get hold of the PDF, it does show you exactly how to do it. Alternatively, I understand that Steffi from the makers will shortly be doing a live stream on making the seal, so maybe you could catch that as well. I'm still doing the smoothing part. I'm adding more wool there to sort of smooth the body into the fins, flippers into the body again, so we don't have that sharp join line, which doesn't look good. There we go. It's a lot smoother now, and it does actually look as if that front flipper or fin or whatever you want to call it is attached to the body. As you can see from that side, that looks sort of as if it isn't, but we'll soon be doing that side as well, and just smoothing it out. And you will find as you work on your items that you will be constantly refining the shapes and the finish. It's just the way it is with needle felting. There we are, just adding a bit of wool to the other side. Just speed it up a little bit so that you don't have to spend so long watching me poking away here. But you will notice that I keep turning him in all different directions, looking at him from all different directions as well, because that way you find that you can get a better shape. It's not just what he looks like from the front. You need to check the front, both sides, the top and the bottom, just to see how he looks. And I'm actually adding more wool now to the tail. I thought it was still a bit thin and a bit sort of floppy, so more wool. You can always add more wool, and you can actually take it away as well if you need to, but it's better just to felt it down if you need to remove a bit, usually, unless you've just made a mistake. And needle felting is so forgiving, you can just pull it out and start again, basically. But here we go. I think you'll find that's much better now. Lovely. And we're going to put the top coat on as well, which will give it another layer, and hopefully by the time we've done that, it will be exactly how I want it. And you notice here that I'm actually needle felting in from the sides there on the tail as well. It gives it a much smoother edge, rather than just needle felting down all the time. But yeah, it's a nice smooth edge. And now I'm going to start adding the top coat. It's a very, very nice wool that I'm using here. It's a carded bat. I prefer to use carded for these sort of things. I mostly only use the merino tops when I want to do hair or fur, long fur or something. The carded bats are quicker. They're quicker to felt. I feel that you can get a much smoother coat with it, and it's my preference. Obviously, you can use whatever you have or whatever you want to use. Some people use almost solely merino tops, and that is entirely up to them. But I prefer myself to use the carded bats. Now, here you'll find that I'm making a dent in to just give me an idea of where the eyes are going to go. It helps when you're shaping the head to know where the eyes are going to go, so you can get the shape the way you want it before you put the eyes in. Especially with the seals, the eyes are so big, and they're such an important part of the head that if you've got them marked, you know where they are, then you can shape the head. And you'll see here over the next few minutes that I do a lot of poking and squeezing and pulling of the shape to get it how I want it. And there's an eye. There he is. There's the idea of his head. Obviously, I'm not quite happy with it yet. It's not there, but it's getting there. And now I'll just continue to cover the entire make with the top coat. I believe this is a Corriedale bat that I've got from the World of Wool. I love that. It is such a beautiful wool to work with. It's soft and a fairly short fibre, and you can needle felt it quite smooth. And I do like my makes to be mostly smooth, unless they're supposed to be fluffy, but mostly smooth. Here we go with the rest of the top coat. And you can see that the top coat wool is smoother and it's whiter, and yeah, it's really looking nice. Again, I spent some considerable time putting the top coat on. I think I had just over 2 hours of video before I edited it, so you can tell that I took quite a long time to do it. Really getting quite pleased, and you notice that I do actually smooth my makes down with my fingers. I think it makes them nice and smooth, and also you get to see if there's any more sticky up bits when you're doing them. I still got quite a few sticky up bits here, but I will continue to needle felt them in. And here's the top coat going on to the tail now. I will put the top coat on a little bit longer than I need, fold it over to the bottom, and then that will help to make you with a nice smooth edge. There you go, you can see that tail is looking considerably tidier now, because I'm putting the top coat on, tucking it underneath and attaching it to the bottom, and that does help to give it a nice smooth finish along the edge. And I also needle felt the edge. Just mind your fingers when you're doing the edges, can be quite painful. And also a little bit there just between the two parts of his tail, just to give that a nice smooth finish. Again, to put it on, fold it over and attach it on the underneath, just to separate out the two parts of the tail, and the tail fits. There he is. He's getting very, very close to the shape that I want now. I'm just giving the eyes a little bit more of a dent. And I've got myself two very small pieces of black, just making them into an approximate ball in the palm of my hand, and now I'm needle felting them into the dents that I made where the eyes are going to go. If you just keep needle felting, it does pull it in and makes it go down, and just go around the edges to get rid of the wispy bits. You'll find that I do a sort of a circular motion with the needle, and that will pick up loose fibres from the edges, and then you just needle felt them down. It's difficult to put this where you can see it, but because I also need to see it to get it, you know, nice and round. And you want to make them as equal as possible, and smooth, ready to put your eyes in. I'm just trying to get rid of some of the more fluffy bits around the edge. There we have the eyes, or the base for the eyes. And now I've got the eyes here, but I'm adding a little piece of black to make a nose. Now the nose is very similar to a dog's nose. It is that kind of triangular shape, sort of flat across the top and then coming down and in on both sides. I put quite a bit of work in here to the nose to make it the right shape, but yeah, it's fairly simple shape to get, and you just needle felt around the edges to push it into where you want it. You'll see the angle of the needle, so that's helping me to push the wool in to get to the shape I want. And he's beginning to look rather cute, actually. And there you are. It's a close-up of the nose there. And sometimes it just helps to put it to hold your item. Anytime you're holding the item in your hand and needle felting, be very careful. The needle can go straight through out the other side and into your hand or your finger, and it is very painful. And of course you could bleed, and you don't want to bleed on your items. There we go. Now I'm getting a very, very tiny wisp of black here, which I'm just putting in sort of, I suppose it's an eyebrow or whatever, but it's it does help to give him an expression, make him cute. Depending on where you put the eyebrows and which direction they're pointing in, you can give him a completely different expression. I mean, I don't want it to show too thickly, so I'm needle felting it well down. And now I will try to make the other side look at least fairly similar. Making things symmetrical, I think, is probably the hardest part of needle felting. If you've never tried needle felting, please do try. Probably your best bet would be to start with a simple kit, and just have fun. You're not supposed to be trying to make a carbon copy. You know, if you're using a video or a PDF or whatever, don't try and make a carbon copy. That's not what it's about. What it's about is using your own imagination and you know, just go with the flow, as it were. The PDFs and the videos and stuff are there to give you some of the help you with the skills that you require and such like, but yeah, there you go. Now this is very strange. I've never done this before. It's you're putting on a thin piece of black under the chin and around the cheeks, and this is going to give him something which I can only describe as his 6 o'clock shadow, because he has quite sort of a lot of whiskers and stuff, and when you add his whiskers, it just looks good. So what you do is you're putting the black in, and you're needle felting it quite firmly, and then you're pulling it off, and it leaves a few fibres behind, which does give this sort of beard effect, unshaven effect. And I think it looks good, and I'm going to try it on one of my people at some point, so to give him a nice 6 o'clock shadow. There you go. You can see it works really well. You'll find I'll be putting a bit more on in a moment, and I will actually swap to the larger needle, because I think that will make it felt down a bit more firmly. Here we go. Larger needle, and that's 38. Now that bit didn't leave very much behind. If you try to use the same bit over and over and over again, it gets more and more needle felted, so when you pull it off, it leaves less behind. I think here you'll find I'll needle felt it down, I'll pull it off, and it's virtually left nothing. So then I will take a fresh piece of the wool to needle felt down. There you go. See, it just came straight off because the piece of wool I was using had become needle felted in itself. So there wasn't really any loose fibres to stick into the seal. But so we put a nice new piece on, give it a poke there, and pull it off, and you've got the effect you're looking for. Want it to be fairly random, but I think it looks good. I do give it a small amount of needle felting with my fine needle, just to make sure it is attached in there, and in a minute I will trim off any of the sticky out bits with my scissors. just checking the instructions there. Let's see what's next. A little bit more with the fine needle just to make sure those black bits are attached, and it also gives them the little round bits that look like hairs coming out of the paws, which is the effect that we want, really. So there we go. And now I'm using an awl to make a hole in the centre of the black that we put in there, and I'm pushing the eye in. Okay. You need to get the eyes symmetrical. You need them both to be, but you know, in the same plane, as it were, and to be, both pointing in the same direction. Now, in this case, it's very difficult with black on black, but you can't always see the hole you've made. So I just tried it again, find the hole, and there you go, I found it. And that's just pushing the eyes in. Now, I use PVA glue to keep my eyes in because it dries clear and it looks, you know, you can't see it, which is brilliant. So I didn't like quite the angle of that eye, so I'm making a new hole and readjusting it there. As I said, you can squeeze and push and do all sorts. Now here's my glue. I've got these very fine needle-tipped glue pots, which I decant my PVA glue into, and I love using them because you can actually, if you pull the eye up, you can push the point of the glue down into the hole that you made, and that will glue the eye all the way down. You can fill the hole with glue, and then I pull it up so that there's some onto the shaft and the back of the eye, and you don't have to worry about if you get glue squeezing out because it is PVA glue. It does dry clear, so you won't see it. And here we are trimming off the beard bit, just so that it's not sticking up too much. You just want that sort of effect. You don't want bits sticking out, you know, as a beard. Clean up the mat again, and make sure the eyes are pushed well in, and that they are where you want them, and that they are both in the same sort of direction. A little bit more refinement to the face. And I think we're ready to add some patches. Now, this is just a very, very, very lovely sort of mottled brown wool that I've got, and you just pull it out very, very thin, and just needle felt it in. You want it to look like patches. You don't want spots. You don't want too much of a hard outline. So just smooth it, pull it out till it's very, very thin, and I needle felt it in with my fine needle, just to give it that lovely sort of mottled look to him. Some bits I put a little bit thicker than others, so some of the spots are a bit darker, some of them are a bit lighter, but just start off with very thin pieces of wool. And again, I'm just trimming it off, taking off all the fluffy bits that are sticking up with the scissors. You need a fairly sharp pair of scissors to do the job well, but yeah, it's just a matter of trimming them off. Keep the scissors parallel with the body, and that will work quite nicely. I'm going to add a little piece down there because I did actually, when I was doing the scissors, I pulled the scissors away and it pulled a little piece out, so I had a sort of a hole, so just adding a little bit more in there. And you can see the effect of the darker spots and the lighter spots, and that is all down to how much wool you put on, how thick you make it, and how much you needle felt it down. So just experiment with it and make it the way you want it. And he's very nearly there. I would just do a bit more refining. I've noticed there's still a few fluffy bits about, which I shall needle felt down as we go along. There we go. Final shapings. And there he is, looking quite cheeky, I think. And we're preparing now to add the whiskers. And I've got some horsehair. It's a dark coloured horsehair, and a large sewing needle with a large eye. I need a large eye because my eyesight's not what it used to be. And you just put the in. Don't put too much of a tail on when you put it through the eye of the needle, because that end will bend over, and once it's bent you can't straighten it. So just pull it through side to side and then come back, and just you're going to make a loop that side, which will be about the same length as you want your whiskers to be. So there we go, just checking to see if the loop's the right size, and back again. You can go in and come out at different places. Sorry, I had a little bit of a problem there. So there you go, pull it down, pull the, yep. Now it's got a little bit twisted, the loop, but just straighten it out. They do have quite preponderous whiskers, actually, long and yeah, really quite a lot of them. So you just put in as many as you want. And of course the needle becomes unthreaded. It always happens to me. But don't worry about it. You just put it back in the needle, put the end back in the needle once you get it where you want it, and carry on. decided that as the needle would come unthreaded again, that was probably enough. So I just cut through the loops, and you'll see on his right hand side there, one of his whiskers definitely sticks up, but you can twist it to get it to point in whatever direction you want it to do. You'll see me do that. There you go. I just turned it down. Okay, now to make sure that the whiskers stay put, I get my little pot of PVA glue again, and I just put some dots where the actual whiskers come out of the face. I just put a little dot of glue, and then I pull the whiskers from the other side, which will pull the glue down into the inside a little bit. Do the same the other side, and pull that just a little bit. You can trim the whiskers if you're not happy with the length of them, but I like them to look a bit wild, so I just left them alone. And there he is, Sammy the seal. I don't put the marks on his front fins there. I personally don't like it, so I've just left him as he is. But there he is, Sammy the snail. Please like, comment and subscribe, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.